One man, one Murloc, one giant angry badger. This is Blue Please. It begins now.
Yes, indeed, folks. Welcome to Blue Please, special edition right here on CynicalBrit.com with myself, Total Biscuit. The date today is the 6th of July, 2010. It is 2 days before the anniversary of my birthing. Yes, indeed. Looking forward to that. I intend to drink a lot and go see Predators. That's my plan. And then all the lads coming over for the weekend and we're going to play games. It's going to be fantastic. Looking forward to it. Welcome to everybody, including all the new guys. I hear you've never listened to the show before. Now would be a perfect time to start. If you are not already in the live channel, then we have a chat room going on. You click the chat button at the bottom of the screen on CynicalBrit.com. You'll get in there. You will see things perhaps that you would never wish to see. However, you will be part of some kind of social group and you will feel accepted, wanted, and all that stuff. Oh, yes, indeed. What have I got coming up for you in the show today? Well, it is a special show, so I thought I'd come up with some special stuff, but we're going to be talking about what Blizzard just announced about 30 or so minutes ago, give or take. Real ID for the forums. And I think my opinion on this is going to be extremely controversial. There's no way I'm going to please everyone, and you know, I never ever try. So we're going to be doing that a little bit later on the show. It's going to be fun. Also, I want to talk about some of the comments that have been made on my YouTube page, and specifically one thing, actually, that really got me fired up, and that's the fact that some people complain that, the instances might be too hard, and you're an elitist for thinking that you should go with a guild group. Yeah, cry. Gonna be fun to take that apart a little bit later on in the show. Oh, yes, indeed. Looking forward to that one. Also going to be doing Q&A, folks. Yes, indeed, question and answer session. At the end of the show, I'll be logging into the Cataclysm beta, assuming it's back up again, and I'll answer all of the questions that you can possibly throw at me and that I can think of. However, I would not recommend, in any way, shape, or form, that you discuss the lore. Because, as you're well aware, the new centre of the lore is in Tinkertown, which is now located somewhere inside the Exodar. I've yet to find it, but I'm sure I will manage to get it in a future video. Yes, indeed. It's been a rather eventful few days, hasn't it, considering? I don't know what happened. Well, I do know what happened. People wanted to see Cataclysm, so I thought I'll show them Cataclysm. And I'll try and apply some quality control. Not to brag or anything, but really, if you're going to put out a video, please, for the benefit of those watching, could you put it out at more than 5 frames a second, in the correct aspect ratio, and not try and sound like a nasal jerk? Preferably when you're recording your commentary, do so on a microphone that cost more than the burger I ate today. Thank you very much. That is all that's required for quality, and I look forward to people putting out good footage so that everyone can watch some really great stuff about Cataclysm. And then I'll have to step my game up. In the meantime, I'm glad, really honoured, honestly, that you guys have come out in such numbers to not only listen to the show today, but obviously watch the videos that I'm putting out. And a special thank you has to go to the man himself, the one and only BB from MMO Champion, for picking my videos as the examples that he wanted to show. So thank you very much, and the check is in the mail. Yeah, it's going to be good. Right, what else have I got for you? So, it wouldn't be a Blue Please if I didn't bring the features out. It's been a long time, really, since I played the features. I started doing the features again last week, and there were a few features back from the Mists of Time in Blue Please when it started back in 2005 that I put out and people seem to really like, but they go on and off depending on whether I've got writer's block or whether I'm just have the time to write them. So, there's a feature called Nubcake News, and it's a satirical news program that I put out, and I think you're going to like this one an awful lot. I put this together just before the show. It's current events, it's hot topic, fresh off the presses, and I will play that for you a little bit later on. Also, we've got a character on the show that has endured through various radio plays and Q&A segments. He's called the Murloc, and he is an angry British bastard. He is very unpleasant. I'm going to present to you, considering we have so many new listeners, they might not really get the way the Murloc's put out, so I'm going to start a series of radio sketches telling you the life and times of the Murloc, and it's going to be presented kind of in the form of an audio book. So I'll put the first one of those together today, and I'm looking forward to playing that for you a little bit later on in the show. Should be a lot of fun, I hope. And, of course, fantastic music for the live listeners gets played throughout the show, and that's pretty much it. That's what happens in this show, so hopefully you guys are looking forward to that. Fantastic stuff. Right, is everything running correctly? It certainly seems to. Nothing's broken to my knowledge. Excellent. Fantastic stuff. Thanks to the moderators in the channel today. You'll be able to get rid of any idiots if you so desire. People are claiming I have echo. I'm pretty sure that's not me. As far as I'm aware, at any rate. Yes, indeed. Should be okay. Just need to check that our tiny chat is all right. Microphone should be turned off. Yes, indeed. Yep, as far as I'm aware, everything's fine. Whatever. Okay. Let's get on with the show, shall we? I think the best thing to do would be to kick it off with some emails.
Mail time.
That sounds like it's mail time. Here's the mail.
It never fails.
It makes me want to wag my tail. When it comes,
I want to wail.
Yes, indeed, folks. It is mail time. It is the time that we read the mail. So I'm going to kick it off. If you want to email into the show, you can do so throughout the week. If you're listening to the podcast, which is where the vast majority of people seem to listen, then you can send it in. Just send it to themurloc@gmail.com. That is themurloc@gmail.com. That's the place to go. That's the place to send it. Whatever you want to say, send it over. I'll read the best ones live on the show. Right, okay, let's kick it off, shall we? Start things off with an email that I've got here. This came in fairly recently, and this one is from Smurg. Hey TB, you magnificent troll bastard. Long time listener here, liking the Cataclysm videos. Anyhow, I remember when leveling to 80 when Wrath first came out, I was leveling up in the first half of Zuldrak and doing the Scourge Troll questline. I remember that at the end of the chain, it pitted you against the Troll Death Knight in a semi-vehicle based quest. Basically, you controlled a Berserker and he tanked the boss, and DPS healed you with enough decent control mechanics. What was particularly interesting about this quest was it was fairly difficult, comparatively speaking. The Zerker you were controlling would die a couple of times in the fight. You had to manage a few different abilities. The DK hit like a truck, and he spent the whole time chucking evil crystals at you. These crystals will leave a spot on the ground that did some nasty dots and didn't go away, so it would quickly fill up a chunk of the small platform you were on, i.e. don't stand in the fire. Also, they would predict your movement, so you had to move around fairly erratically. The guy was basically a little raid boss, one of my favourite quests in the game. In hindsight, it does prepare you for more serious bosses quite well, as you can't just face roll it. Does it look like Cataclysm is going to be putting out any more of these solo bosses? They're challenging, fun, inventive, and I would like to see more of them in the game, even if it's just one per zone. And if so, what kind of things are they doing, and what kind of mechanics would you like to see implemented? That is from Smurg Enhancement Shaman. Okay. Well, I haven't seen any as of yet, but I'll be honest, I would be highly surprised, really surprised, if they didn't do something like that. I mean, we've seen starting areas of the starting zone. We're talking like 1 to 5, 1 to 6-ish, and we've seen they've got vehicle quests and stuff like that, and I would be so very surprised if they didn't have any kind of possession quest, as I call it. It's not really the same as a vehicle quest because you're not mounting some kind of inanimate vehicle and driving it around, but you're possessing a minion and you're taking control of it and using its abilities. You've already seen 2 examples of ability swaps in the Goblin Zone. You've got the party, whereby all of your abilities are swapped out for things to do in the party that you've got to do to complete the quest, and you've got the quest that is in the bank, whereby you have to click the various things on the vehicle bar in order to complete the quest there. Well, I'll also tell you, a bit of a spoiler for the Walking Zone. Again, this podcast will have some spoilers in it. There's really no question about that, and if you don't like that, I'd suggest you turn out. I will try and at least let you know when the spoilers are going to happen. Spoiler for the Walking Quest. There is a vehicle quest in the second zone whereby you get on a catapult. You have to actually take over a catapult first. You've got to kill its driver. You jump on the catapult, drive it over to the shore, aim it, and then fire yourself onto undead battleships in order to kill the captains. So, again, there's another vehicle quest there, and I would expect to see an awful lot more of that kind of stuff a little bit later on in those questing zones. Now, you're right when you say that those kind of quests are great. They're great for a number of reasons. 1, they're challenging. 2, they provide much-needed variety in what could otherwise be fairly monotonous leveling up. as far as I'm concerned, actually, those are the two main concerns that I would have and say, look, this is a good thing. This is something that you want. This is something that spices up your questing. So you should want this, as far as I'm concerned. And yes, the challenging elements, that I remember doing that quest where you had to possess, what is it, the Abomination or something like that, and you had to fight the Death Knight. I think there were a couple of quests like that, these solo bosses. People have been wanting solo instances for a long time, and I don't really understand why that is, but I can see why they would want a challenging encounter that they've got to do on their own and not rely on other people. Just think about it for a second. A difficult encounter that can be done solo, that is balanced across the classes, is a perfect way to give people the difficulty and the challenge they're looking for. If you have something solo that is reliant on the class you're playing, it's invariably going to vary. Invariably going to vary. That's pretty bad, isn't it? But never mind, you can have that sentence. There you go, force-fed it to you. So, it's going to vary on the basis of what class you're playing. So, say, Paladins might have an easier job killing Big Boss number 5 than Shaman, or Mages, for instance. If everyone gets to play an Abomination and has to master not only the mechanics of the fight, but the mechanics of the thing they're controlling, then that's a good bit of fun. We've seen it before. We saw similar kind of stuff back in TBC with the questing areas out in, that spiky place. What was it? Blade's Edge. Yes, there indeed. They came in as dailies, and they were actually kind of tricky. So that was good. And I think people enjoyed that. I certainly liked it. So I want to see more of that. I want to see more of that in the levels. And I haven't really seen much thus far, but that's because I haven't quested. I've been doing that on purpose. I don't really want to quest that much because it spoils the surprise for me, and it means that I've got to re-level. But we'll see what we can do. I mean, right now I'm just all about showing off the beta and showing the instances in the various zones. But we'll see about doing some questing later on that's not, say, alts and the starting zones and all that kind of thing. But yeah, thank you for the email very much indeed. And of course you can email in themurloc@gmail.com. That also applies for your questions and answers. If you want to send in a question for the Q&A section of this show regarding the Cataclysm beta, you can do so. themurloc@gmail.com. That is themurloc@gmail.com. Right, okay, let's see what we've got as regards to other questions. Got quite a few. Here's one. Oh god, that is huge. I cannot answer that one, sorry. If you're going to send me an essay, then you absolutely cannot, in any way, shape or form, expect me to read that out on the show. That's quite silly. Okay, opinion on Real ID, we're going to be talking about that later. Someone asks what the latest dungeon is going to be. Indeed, the next dungeon we're going to see in the Cataclysm videos. Well, I can answer that. It's going to be Deepholm because that's the one that's coming out next. Now, as I recall, in the alpha, people could get access to certain dungeons, but they weren't finished. I mean, you saw the video I did of Mount Hyjal, whereby there is an instance in the Sulfuron Spire. You can't get in it, as you saw. I almost died trying. Not all of the instances are available yet, and in fact, most of them aren't. So you're going to have to wait for that. But yeah, the next one will be Deepholm. It makes sense when you think about it. This beta is a real beta as opposed to a marketing exercise. Don't get me wrong, Blizzard sees the marketing potential of this beta. Hell, I've probably done enough for them by showing and hyping people up on this thing, which is funny considering the amount of criticism I've leveled at them over the past couple of months for being, well, honestly, terrible. You know, they've been putting in some really bad content, they've been lazy, they've made a bunch of dumb decisions, and yeah, it's totally right to call them on that. Honestly, it is. If any of you feel angry about the stuff that's been happening over the past few months, I do not blame you at all. You know, I cancelled my sub a couple of months back. I couldn't be bothered with it. And what am I going to do? Go to ICC for the 60th time? Why bother? And that instance has been around for 6 months. You shouldn't be expecting people to keep playing the same content when the only content on that tier until a few weeks ago when they gave us a boss that was eaten in under 24 hours in all modes, including 25 heroic. You can't expect people to deal with that. You can't expect them to accept it. And that would be ridiculous. Would you play the same segment of a single-player game over and over again for 6 months? I don't think so. And you can't be expected to play a MMO in the same way either. It's not good at all as far as I'm concerned. But the beta has got a lot of good stuff and they're adding new stuff in. So when all of these upgrades come in and when they bring in the next build, we'll have a look at Deepholm, and I suppose I'm going to have to level my mage to that. I believe it's a level 83-ish instance, so if I get to about 81 I should be okay, I guess. So I better get started on Hyjal, and then of course I could show you some of the phasing that's going on there because it's pretty damn major. Yes, indeed, folks. My name is Total Biscuit, and you're listening to Blue Please here on CynicalBrit.com. We're going to play some music. I'm going to leave this one on the podcast because I've been given permission to do so. This one is by Captain Dan and the Scurvy Crew. Yes, indeed, authentic pirate hip-hop in the form of Sea Monsters. I'll be right back after this, folks, to talk a little bit about Real ID. Enjoy.